Dave.
Nick.
JPX921, new stuff from Mizuno.
I hear they got some new stuff coming out.
These look really nice. These look really nice. So let's start with the hot metal 921, the chromoly that they've continued to use.
So I know Mizuno basically has like kind of two lines of clubs, the better player and the more forgiving. Which one's this one in?
This one's going in the bigger line.
These are all the more forgiving?
More forgiving. We'll get to those blades that you definitely should not be hitting in a second.
Here we go.
Shot after warming up.
Well, typical to Mizuno, even their bigger, more forgiving clubs look great. They're super traditional look. They don't look like a big giant tennis racket.
If there's a lot of offset on there, it's very hard to distinguish. Nice, that sounded like a good hit.
Yeah.
Your typical push draw. This one didn't cross the target though, so maybe it is atypical. See what I did there?
I get you.
I know, that was a good shot though.
Push, is that another green?
Draw.
God, how many am I up to?
Yeah, that's like, you're above 50% today. That's nice, you're 1 for 1. So nice shot. I think those are really good. The 6-iron loft in that one is still 25. So you've got tons of forgiveness in that club, plus it's made to launch, go really far. So it's following the trend to touch more of the other OEMs that have really strengthened their lofts. And there's a story behind that too. So I think it's important people don't get too tied up in what the lofts are for. When you start to have these faces that are hollow, and a lot of flexing in the face, the balls start to take off more like drivers. So with that in mind, if you have weaker lofts, like what you would think of as more traditional, then the shots will tend for most people to be too high, land with too much descent, too obtuse of an angle, and then you're losing some distance out of that, and the ball's coming down and moving backwards. So that's the value in strengthening lofts. Now some companies and some of these manufacturers that we've seen over the years have gone a little bit too far, and now they're going the other way. Mizuno's quite the opposite. They went from far more lofted irons, and now they've lost 1 degree over the 919. So it isn't a big change, but it's a necessary change. And it's not the sole reason that people hit them farther. That is a big story that's being told right now. It's not being told very well, unfortunately. So now you're into the Pro. Hot Metal Pro. This one I thought looked really good. A little less offset, still has a longer heel toe blade than I think your normal cavity back iron. The lofts on them are still about the same, 25 for the 6-iron. This thing should be a rocket launcher though, and it should look more traditional, more like your standard iron you're used to looking at.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
A little less offset, but that's a really nice club. This one fits in nicely, I think, with that player's distance category. These are rocket launchers. So that was nice. You hit that one a little bit higher. I don't know if the strike was a touch better. I think that was going a little further.
It was a tiny bit better, but yeah, that one felt nice
shot.
That one felt great as well.
So both about 5 yards longer. Yeah, 5 yards longer. So I think that one's good. So the higher handicap players, the hot metal is going to be really good. It looks like a nice iron. I can't see anybody who this couldn't really fit nicely for, up until where you're really concerned about the amount of spin and the consistency of the spin, and you're trying to dial in your distances perfect. This would be your club up until that point.
Yeah, between these two, you probably almost have a club for anybody.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
Looks great.
So how about let's do the JPX921 Forged.
Okay.
A little wider, a little longer blade than previous year's models, but other than that, still super soft. The 6-iron loft in this one was 27 degrees, so it's got a touch more loft, a little more of what your standard good player iron is really for.
Those have got a little bit more than the ones I just hit?
Yeah, I don't know if I would pull this off the rack if I was less than more than a 10 handicap and expect this one to perform any better than the hot metals do. But
yeah, it's got a lot of forgiveness, but you can definitely tell the face and the head starting to get a little smaller, starting to get a little bit more weight.
Just no good reason to go from Hot Metal and Hot Metal Pro, which look awesome, and then go down and make the head even smaller unless you're that much more of a skilled player. Or if you hit the ball really low, need to get it a touch higher, maybe this will help you. Maybe at that level of maybe a 10 handicap player who wants a little bit higher shots, these could launch a little higher.
Yeah. Well, Mizuno's one of those companies too where there aren't any clubs in their lineup where aesthetics is going to be the reason why you don't want to play it. They just all look fantastic.
These all look good. And you can get into the features of the chromoly metal that they're using and how it's a one-piece forging, especially in these. The next one we're going to hit right here, the tour model head. I mean, this is, if you're looking for a blade, this is the one.
I'm not, but I'll try it anyway.
Yeah. Well, these are still forgiving. There's some tech built in the back. It's a little bit of a cavity. These aren't hollow like the rest of them and built to be a distance iron. This one's got a 30-degree 6-iron to it. And I think the nice part in there that's been missed when you talk about blade-like irons this way is that all the lofts are 4-degree increments. So it's very easy to do some gapping in there. Nice shot. It's the highest one you hit yet.
Yep.
That's also the one that curved the most to the left of the target.
Yep.
So, good shot though. Didn't go as far. That one, even though it was a really solid hit, was higher launching, 177. You hit your first 6-iron, the Hot Metal 188, and then the Hot Metal Pro 193. So it's definitely not your longest iron. It's not made to be that way.
Right.
But you can see how that launched pretty high.
This performed exactly as we kind of expected it to, as we were talking off camera. So
this is for that guy who's going to hit a lot of good shots. You're worried about, if anything, trying to dial in your distance more precisely. That's where I think the blade irons fit. But what you sacrifice there, the ball speed's lower off the face. That's where the lack of tech in the bottom of the club, in the sole, and in the cavity in the back, and the hollowness of these irons, the hot metal irons and any hollow metal, hollowed out iron, really do help quite a bit.
And these are every club we hit today are all still in the JPX line, which I know that's the more forgiving line, right? So this is really, there's a club that anybody can play unless you're maybe on TV for a living, but even then you could probably still hit it with one of these.
So they've got a golf club for everybody this year. I think that's probably even a little bit better than what they did with the 919s. So I think there's something for everybody here. But even if you're, whatever type of golfer you are, I would be very much recommending that everyone try the hot metal iron in whatever it is that they're testing. So test if you feel like you really want these 921 Forged, because they just look awesome, and they do. And you're not really looking for more distance, I think it's great. Go ahead and hit those, but try that hot metal iron too.
Who watching this isn't looking for more distance?
Well,
I mean,
you know,
you got to go for it, right?
You're standing up there, like if not everyone's playing golf like we are, but if I'm standing at 190 yards and I pull out a 7 or an 8 iron, that's the shot I'm going to hit. I'm not trying to hit a pitching wedge.
Right.
So having like the hot metal irons for me isn't really helping me on those shots.
Yeah, but you don't watch this podcast, David.
No, I don't watch this ever. But you need to be that type of player before you should start looking at like the forged irons, or that one that you have right there, that tour head. Otherwise,
this one was actually, this last one, the less forgiving of them, but still very forgiving. It was a little bit, tiny bit of a miss hit to the heel, and I felt it, right? It kind of actually felt it through the club a little bit, where those other ones just, they felt awesome.
Yeah, and the center of gravity on that's a little bit more towards the heel anyway. Whether anyone knows it or not, that's where it should be for those. So that's a nice spot to miss hit it. But it's good that you recognize that too. So I think these fit everybody. There's no one, if you're looking for an iron, nobody shouldn't try these. They've done an awesome job with this line.
What's that really, really forgiving one that I see in the bag?
This one? This Apex MB 7-iron?
Yeah, there's a 7-iron hybrid. You don't see this a ton.
JPX Fly High, that's the one you're referring to. 7 hybrid. I think that one's a regular shaft. This will be some serious replacements of your long irons. Now that being said, I really thought the finish looked good on that. There's nothing in the top line. It is just one almost matte black finish throughout. Looks very matte black though, so it's a cool look for a hybrid.
No, it's very cool, and just, I mean, I know a lot of companies have them, but you just don't often get the chance to hold and see a 7 hybrid.
Let's try that. This would be a good example. So your last one up there in that blue line was that just the tour iron.
The tour,
so let's show people what exactly you would use this for, which in your game really isn't for anything. Was that a little low on the face?
Pretty decent.
Spinning a ton.
Pretty solid anyway. It felt pretty solid.
So that one is very straight, very little curve to that whatsoever. Went 195. That would have been your longest 7-iron that you'd hit all day too. But this is for someone who struggles to hit the ball off the turf. Maybe everything that you hit is very thin. You have a problem with their left wrist extending too much and your angle of attack's just not down enough. This will launch it real high.
I mean, this is for something that you could consider to be an iron. This is as forgiving as it gets. I mean, this is an iron replacement. It's not meant to be the long part of the set, but you know, depending on where you figure out, you know, you start to have trouble hitting your current irons, this would be a decent option.
Yeah, and if you're struggling with the game, then the hot metals are a good one. Trying these, starting at maybe even like a 6, would be a really good idea to see if you hit those much better than the long irons in your bag, which is most people. But that's why you need to really try every club that you've got. You know of any place where you can hit these clubs?
I do know of a place.
Yeah. Well, you don't know of it right now because they're not ready yet.
By the time they are watching this, they'll be almost ready.
When they are ready, where would you go, you think?
I would go see my local GOLFTEC professional to go get fit by them.
That's a good idea. Why don't you go do that?
I heard it from you.
Thanks, Dave.